What's up, and welcome to Unspoken Conversations. I'm James Crow, and here we talk about issues and situations that are in plain sight. Things that people hate to talk about, but it needs to be said, from relationships, families, friends, and life. Our goal is to shed light and understanding so that just maybe we can start to rebuild relationships, families, and ultimately, our communities. What's up, guys, and welcome back. In this episode, I want to talk about your kids being in sports. All right. This conversation came from a buddy of mine, Joe. Joe, Hispanic homie. When you hear this, you're gonna know exactly the conversation we had. So this shout out to him. So people, when we got kids, male, female, doesn't matter. When we got kids and our kids is in sports, you ever notice just how hard we willing to go for them? We're willing to turn up. We're willing to get them in shape. Come on, go, get it. You know what I'm saying? We're like really pushing them, but pushing them to the level where it's almost detrimental for them to even want to stay in the game. It's you're almost destroying them. You ever think about that? Just because you see your kid falling a little bit behind and you want to turn up, and you want to really go hard and you want to force them and push them and push them and force them, we don't realize just how much damage we're doing. It just may be your kid don't give a fuck about this game. Your kid don't care about this game. The only reason they're there is because you made them go. And when you ask them, do you like the sport? Do you like baseball? You like football? Your kid may be like, yeah, I like it. You want to go next year? Yeah, I do. And maybe your kid is really like, I don't know, but I don't want to say no because I don't know if mom or dad's going to get upset about me saying no. Maybe that's the feeling that they got. Just maybe. But because you force them so much, you don't realize that you're forcing them away from the game. You're forcing them away from the sport. You're literally making them resent the whole sport. We don't realize we're doing this. And we do it. I've done it. Not realize that I've done it, but when I caught it, I changed some shit. Instead of going so hard, like, come on, man, my son, there was a time where my oldest son was playing basketball. And we was at one of his games, and he's running down the court. He would just shoot the ball, and he would just put just barely anything into it. He'd shoot the ball, he'd miss, and then he'd turn around, and everybody else is getting it down the court already. They're already more than halfway down the court, and he's still on his end of the court, just running, just jogging slightly, and he's fixing his clothes as he's running down the court. And I'm thinking to myself, what the hell is this boy doing? Why are you fixing your clothes, man? Get down the court. I'm like, for real, not mad, but I'm like getting amped up. Like, come on, man, what are you doing? And I caught myself. And I said to myself, maybe this dude really just don't like basketball. Maybe he just don't like basketball. So I asked him after that game, and I didn't realize he had done it more than once. This ain't the first game he done it in. He was just starting to do it more. So when I finally asked him, like, dude, why do you be doing this? How come you be acting like you really don't want to play basketball? He was like, I said, you like it? He said, yeah. I said, no. Don't tell me you like it when you really don't. I said, if you don't like it, I'm not going to make you go. I don't want you to go just because you think I want you to go. If you don't want to do basketball, we can put you in something else. So he didn't want to do basketball no more. I didn't know until this very moment where I asked him, and he told me he didn't want to play basketball no more. Damn, I've been pushing this boy to go hard in basketball. He don't even like basketball like that. So I said, what do you want to do? You got to do something. So what do you want to do? Baseball. So he put the little dude in baseball. And he was actually pretty decent at it. But it wasn't him 100%. So what happened is he put the time in. He got a little bit good, and he put the time in. And then it came time for me to put all this money into his gear. And I put bread into his gear. I put a lot of money into his gear. I think it was, I don't know, but between $1,000 and $1,500. I know it was something like that. We put some money into his gear. And come a year later, but he decided he didn't want to do football no more or baseball no more. And part of me says, I wish I would have knew that before I spent the bread. But at the same time, it's part of being a parent. You kind of got to get in where you fit in. You kind of got to fit the mold of where your kid needs to be at, and you got to be there, and you got to drive him through it. You get what I'm saying? You got to drive him through it. You can't force him through it, but you kind of got to drive him through it. So when I realized it just wasn't who he was, he wasn't the sports type of dude. So then I can kind of back up. The problem is by backing up a little bit and asking them, so what you want to do? What you want to do? You want to do this? You want to do that? By doing that, now they got too much room to do whatever the fuck they want to do, which is bad. That's bad. That's a whole nother topic. We're not going to get into that because that's where they bad friends come in, and that's where the bullshit friends come in, and that's where fuckery comes in. But we're not talking about that. We talking about forcing these kids in sports that makes them want to quit and give up because of our thoughts, wants, and egos. That's what this is about. So, like I said, the reason I stopped pushing so hard is because I realized I was forcing a little dude to not like the sport. He is not liking basketball, and he was not liking baseball like he once did. And maybe, just maybe, he liked the concept of baseball and basketball before he got in. But when he realized how much running and how much work it was, he was probably ready to stop. Now, I try to talk him out of it. I try to talk him, hey, there's some things you got to do, and you got to dig in. But it don't matter when a person wants to stop, they want to stop. So my point to saying this is when my boy Joe was telling me, he was saying, when he caught himself doing that and he started looking at other people and them doing it to their kids, and he started seeing it more and more and more, and it made him kind of turn down on turning up at his kid, right? My point is to say, pay attention to your kid. Pay attention to your kid. Pay attention to how you're forcing them to do something. Sports, talking about sports or whatever it may be. Pay attention to how you're forcing them. Just maybe your kid don't want to be there. Just maybe your kid don't like this sport. Maybe it's you that likes this sport. Maybe it's you that wants him to be this or wants her to be this. Maybe it's you with the fucking ego that you're trying to feed, not them. Maybe you got them trapped in a world that you once was. I know some people that used to be dope as hell at football, and they done had two, three kids, and they boys then all had to play or football because the dad liked football. So the dad's now forcing his kids on football, and the kids probably don't even like football. You get a little older and ain't none of them playing football. And I guarantee he done forced them into football so much they don't like football no more. They don't want to watch sports. They don't want to be around football. Nothing. It's because he just drilled them into football, and that's not what they wanted. You get what I'm saying? Sometimes these kids want to pick their own thing. I'm not saying that's a problem. What I'm saying is you have to be able to pay attention to your kid to see what it is your kid really likes. If your kid likes a sport, do what it takes for your kid to be in a sport. Ask them, do you like when I drive you? Do you like when I kind of amp you up and push you to do harder, push you to go harder? I'm only doing it because I love you and I want you to be successful. Ask your kid how they feel about that. Ask them. And if your kid is cool with it, turn it up a notch. Take it to the next level. And if not, if your kid was like, I don't have a problem with it, it's fine. Yeah. You hear that response? That was a shitty response. Your kid answered just to get you off their back. That wasn't a real response. Take heed to that. And stop trying to turn up at your kid. Turn down a little bit, like, baby, look, this is what we're going to do. We're going to finish out this year. We ain't going to be no quitters. We're going to finish out this year, and then when the season is over or whatever, then we think about something else we can do. You know what I'm saying? You got to be doing something. So if we're not going to do this, you got to do something. You got to figure out what it is. Boxing, football, basketball, whatever. We got to figure something out. You okay with that? Your kid's going to have to say yes or no. When your kid says yes or no, then you know how you need to move from then on. But don't just be trying to drill on them just because your ego says you need to. That's the selfish shit that we get into with these kids, and we don't realize we're doing more damage to the kid. That kid is going to resent the sport. And at some point, they're going to resent having to get up and having to deal with it. They're going to resent having to be around you because they know you're going to say something about this fucking sport, and they don't even want to hear you. They don't want to hear it come out of your mouth about this sport. So they're going to resent the sport. They're going to resent being around you because you always nagging and fussing and fighting about this damn sport. These kids ain't stupid. So my point is just pay attention to your kids. Don't push when they're on the brakes. If they're on the brakes, identify what's going on with them, whether they like it or not. That's all I'm saying. Just identify what the issue is and put them where they need to be. That's it. You know what I mean? So hopefully that makes sense. I can get off of it. I hit my little 10-minute mark. And Joe, I hope that conversation went the way you was expecting, because yeah, you're right, man. You're right. And I'm glad you identified that, and I'm glad you fixed the problem too, because last thing you want is your son to resent the game and resent the sport and resent you because, you pushed a little bit too hard. So I give you your props, bruh. Good shit on that. To the rest of y'all, have a good night.
They are so full of the cap, man.